So like the last conversation I actually had with my dad, we used to go work out at the ACC. I was like nervous about telling him. He introduced me to rugby. I'm going to be one of the best rugby players, blah, blah, blah. And now here I am about to tell him, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go walk onto the football team on some pipe dream. And, I broke that to him and kind of told him, I want to do this because I want to go to the NFL. And he was very receptive right away. He was like, if you're going to do this, do it with everything you have, no distractions. We're not going to play rugby half the time. And, you're going to go all in with football and we'll try to give it everything you have. And rugby will always be there if football doesn't work out. And the next day he was murdered at the junkyard.
Oh, man.
So that was like the last conversation I had with him. And then obviously had a tough time with that. Dropped out for that winter quarter because I was struggling. And just I'll go into it, but my mom was like the most pivotal moment of my life. I remember I was sitting on the couch, just kind of zombied out. Dad's gone, and mom comes in tears, and she's just like, Nate, like you gotta get up and go. Like your dad would hate to see this ruin your life. You gotta live a life you'd be proud of. And she was crying, saying that to me, and I had some friends that lost parents and whatnot, and a lot of parents want to coddle their kids in those situations, but for her to have the strength to say something to me that, not necessarily what I wanted to hear or what she wanted to say, but what I needed, she did that. And that was the moment where I kind of woke up and I said, fuck it, let's go. I need to do this thing out like we had talked about. And then like literally a month later, I walked onto the football team at Ohio State.
Wow.
But I was a man on a mission. It was not like I want to put the jersey on type of deal. Those walk-on workouts were crazy experience, bro. There's so many kids. There's like 80 kids there, and half of them have their favorite player's jersey on. Like they had no business being there. And, here, I was playing some of the best athletes in the world, just a different sport, so I could run and stuff, you know. But I'd say that was probably one of the most humbling things I ever did because I was a really good athlete, but I knew nothing about football. Cover 2, cover 1,
so you knew
nickel base, nothing. So that was hard. And for me, I walked on the winter of my sophomore year, so I was going into my junior year. I only had 2 or 3 years of eligibility, so I was like, I got to figure this out quick. And the best way for me to get on the bus was special teams. Oh, because it was like just put them on kickoff and let them eat, and I ate in college. And that's kind of what got me on the bus. I'd say, looking back on it, it was more political at Ohio State trying to play defense than it was in the league, because we have such shorter numbers, and you got to do everything in the NFL. And Ohio State, here I am, a walk-on, senior, whatever it is. I'm taking some highly recruited kid spot. It's like, maybe not. So it was tough. I played 3 snaps of defense at Ohio State. I always got to mention I got a sack on one of those.
Hell yeah. Let's go. Sack daddy.
Yeah, big time. High percentage, very high percentage. But no, special teams, was a way that got me going. And Vrabel was a defensive coach at the time, my senior year. And, I think I had that like dog look of my tape. And then my pro day came about and I balled and got me drafted.
Got you drafted.
Found my way to the NFL. And that's kind of how it got started.
That's crazy. So
rugby was on pause. I never thought I would play as long as I did in the NFL. Should I keep going with how we got back to rugby? How we got to this?
No, I'm just sitting here thinking, man, like, I didn't realize you didn't know any football, like cover 2, cover 1, 0. I thought you played a little high school at least.
Didn't play a down of high school football. I didn't know anything.
Special teams and just came natural. Go get ball.
They were just like, kick it off and go tackle the guy. And I was like, I got that.
And you understood body leverage and
yes, I was a very good tackler.
Using side language
because of rugby. I mean,
sideline.
When I had my first spring ball with Ohio State, I could not believe the way these kids were tackling. Yeah. Especially like safety coming up on like a screen and just flying with his head down, dude. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the coaches weren't saying anything. I couldn't believe
different type of tackling.
It's totally different. I mean,
now, when did you learn? Like, so you came out in an open, like it was just a fucking tryout.
Yeah, this was not a preferred walk.
Hey, like Rudy, like you put your name on a chalkboard.
100%.
Like Charlie from
100%.
Business 100.
Yeah, you basically had to sign up for the walk-on workout. They made the dynamic warm-up so hard that most of the guys, they were like doing high knees like it was a competition. And I played rugby at a high level. I knew it was the warm-up, and I'm like, this is crazy. So I kind of chilled out. watching these dudes send it on some high knees. It was so funny. And these dudes were tapped before we even ran 40s. Like, people were pulling muscles in the dynamic one. It's so funny, dude. I mean, it's not, but
when did you? So you go through that and you do the 40 and you do the tryout stuff.
Yep.
They clearly see you're good. You're an athlete.
They picked 15 of us.
They picked 15 out of how many?
Probably 75, 80 kids.
So 15 of you.
And then they said, you guys don't deserve to work out with the team until you earn it. So we went through 2 weeks of walk-on workouts. Now, I played in the Olympics in a very high cardiovascular, hard sport. Outside of training for that, the hardest 2 weeks of my life was those walk-on workouts. They tried to break.
What did they do?
One thing they made us do was walking lunges across the field to the sideline and back. And no one could drop a dumbbell. And we were doing them with like 75-pound dumbbells, 65 and 75. They only had those 2 weights. And if somebody dropped a dumbbell, we had to start over.
Yeah.
And I remember I would get halfway done and somebody dropped it. We had to all start over. And then we got to the point where I was like, all right, if you're going to drop it, just to like sit on your legs. Like, me and one other kid could get it done. And then we ran out and we held the dumbbells to give them a break. And like, that's how we had to get through it. But I could not walk after that. Dude.
No.
That was killer. And we would just do stuff like the team would work out at 6. So we'd have to be in there at like 4:45, 5 in the morning. Just like, it was terrible. So we started with 15 of us. And by the end of those 2 weeks, there were 3 of us left.
Who? You?
It was me, this kid named Maxwell, and Grant Desiak.
Did they? Now were they?
And there was a kid named Rourke too, so maybe 4 of us.
Now, when you 3 make it,
there might have been more, but then by the time we got through spring ball and actually into camp, there were.
When's the first time you're putting on a fucking helmet?
In spring.
So, like, did you know how to put on your jock and stuff?
No, I didn't. I had trouble with the shoulder pads.
Yeah.
The shoulder pads was weird to me. And then getting used to like running with that was so weird. I just couldn't believe it. Like, people did that. So.
And then when was your first moment you're like, I could play with these guys? Because you're probably humbled as fuck when you first got out there.
Yeah, the way like doing DB drills, because
Yeah.
I played safety, was like very foreign. You know, we did a couple goal line like Texas, Oklahoma drills where you got to go. Like, it didn't make sense. I didn't understand we were on the goal line when we were doing the drill. And in rugby, it's like if you got to give ground, you give ground until you just don't let them through.
Yeah.
It's football. It's like no giving ground. You got to go stick the guy. And like, I had a couple times where I got like fucking teed off on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't understand this concept. So I just changing your mindset and all that. And I think it was hard at first because I was treated as a walk-on. You know, all the guys would go, the freshmen that are coming in would go, and then it'd be my turn to do a rep, and the whistle would blow, the period would change, and I'd be ready to go, and everybody would run and leave me there, and I'm in a stance ready to have the coach throw me the ball, and they all just leave. I'm like, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
And then I'd go and stand on the sideline trying to get reps on scout team, and, you know, I'm getting ready to go out for the last rep, period would end.
Yeah.
You know, and I just would stand there holding my helmet. And then I eventually had a talk with one of the coaches, like, get me on here. Like, so they put me on special teams, and then I could just, you know, we had all these high recruits and I didn't give a shit. So I would be blowing people up, dude.
Yeah.
I was not the one you wanted to see in practice. Cause like I said, I talked to my dad about this. This was a goal. I was on a mission. I wasn't there to just put the jersey on. So some of these young kids or guys that, you know, wide receivers or whatever that don't want to play special teams. And then here we are on like a Thursday, which is like a Friday for us.
Yeah.
And then I'm coming through, dude. Like,
hell yeah.
you know, I was that guy.
Were there any guys on like any of the fucking scholarship guys, studs on that team? Was there anyone that like put their arm around you and saw how hard you worked and saw something and kind of would talk you up? Did you have any, like, you know what I mean? Any of like the big name guys? Because like when I got in the league, I was kind of in that same situation, playing new position, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like Fred Taylor came up to me once when he saw I was like mentally going crazy just on, you know, not getting reps. And one day you'd get one rep and you'd fuck that rep up maybe, or you know what I mean? So like you're playing math in your head all day when you're a walk-on, probably like a
100%.
late round guy in the NFL.
100%.
So, you know, who was the guy that like, was there any guys like that, or is this just fucking Lone Ranger?
You know, Kirk Coleman was someone that I looked up to, and he helped me a lot because that was my first year, was his senior year. You know, Boom Heron was someone I became close with. The running back, Devere Posey, the wide receiver. Yeah. Those guys were more my class. John Simon, obviously.
John Simon.
He's getting a lot of shout outs today.
John Simon.
But yeah, I mean, I had to earn it.
I think about John Simon though, where was he January 6th? Or was he? He knows what I'm talking
Probably in the
about.
weight room. He was rolling around with some guys doing jujitsu, knowing him. But yeah, exactly. But no, there were a lot of good guys there that helped. But I think I had to earn my stripes in that locker room. And I think my first year we started 2-2, and Coach Trussell actually asked me to speak to the team. And we're 2-2. That's not how Ohio State starts. And here I am. My dad just died like 4 months ago, and Coach Trussell's asked me, you can't say no to Coach Trussell.
Yeah.
Still can't find a way to say no to Coach Trussell.
Yeah.
So I got up there, and I think I told my story, and guys kind of like, oh, I get why this dude's so serious. And then, I kind of, my play spoke for itself, my intensity, how hard I worked. And I think I just gained a lot of respect early on. Like, when you're in college, you have like the weight room, they'll split you up into 2 groups. And by the end of the workout, they'll be like, pick your guy. We're going to do like a one-on-one for the whole team. And, I was like a first-year walk-on, and, they were picking me to do the push-up contest versus, Kirk Coleman, the senior 5-star recruit, the big guy. And, so I had earned it through my work ethic, because they knew like he's going to give it all. So, and then as years went on, I, eventually got put on scholarship. I was, kind of a leader on the team.
Yeah.
And once it got going, I mean,
Came from the bottom. Now you're here.
Exactly.
No, seriously, that's a dog.
Yeah. And then the NFL, that first rookie year, when they give you that playbook, I knew I wasn't going to just make it by being another guy that just came in on special teams. And I was content. We had some guys that got drafted that way. Scotty O would draft, and then they just refused to like really put the effort towards learning the defense.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not going to make it. And, for me, with the conversation with my dad, I wanted to make it stick. I didn't want to just go to training camp and say I played in the NFL. Like, I wanted to make it. I wanted to get to a second contract or something like that. And so that rookie year, Matt Patricia was big on helping me learn the defense as much as he didn't have to. Brian Flores was a first-year safeties coach, so him and I grew together a lot. Like, I had a lot of help. Obviously, Bill was like, we're going to use this guy. So, Bill gave me more attention than the coaches at Ohio State did. So I knew I had it there. I just need to put the effort in to learn. And, I had some moments, but I think by the time I actually figured it out, probably 3rd or 4th year in the league, like, you're one of our special teams dudes, like you and Slate. Like, so, and that's kind of where I was. And then, you also had Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung, who were staples for the longest time. And that was good for me because I just could back them up, and played a lot more safety in my first game in the NFL than my entire college career. So I ended up, playing a lot, but special teams was the role that got me there, and that's really where I defined my career in the NFL.